Have you ever noticed how anger feels like fire rushing through your veins? Your heart races, your face gets hot, and suddenly, words fly out of your mouth that you can't take back. Maybe it's that coworker who took credit for your work, or the driver who cut you off in traffic, or even someone you love who said something that cut deep. In that moment, anger feels justified, even powerful. But here's what the ancient wisdom keepers discovered thousands of years ago, something we're only now beginning to truly understand. Anger doesn't hurt the person who wronged you first. It destroys you first. The Buddha once said, "Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned." Think about that for a moment. While you're replaying that argument in your head at 3 a.m, while your blood pressure is rising and your stomach is churning with resentment, the person you're angry at might be sleeping peacefully, completely unaware of the storm raging inside you. You're the one suffering. You're the one being consumed by the flames. Before we dive deeper into this ancient wisdom that can transform your life, if you're someone who wants to find more peace, calm, and clarity in your daily life, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is dedicated to bringing you practical wisdom from Buddhist teachings that you can apply right now, today, to live with less suffering and more joy. And if this video resonates with you at any point, leave a comment below, sharing your biggest challenge with anger. Sometimes just acknowledging it is the first step toward freedom. Now, let's go back over 2,000 years to a monastery in ancient China. There was a young monk who had been studying diligently for years, meditating for hours each day, following every rule, doing everything right. But he had one problem that kept him from finding peace: his temper. The smallest things would set him off. If another monk accidentally bumped into him, if the food wasn't prepared the way he liked, if someone interrupted his meditation, he would feel this surge of rage that he could barely contain. He knew this was wrong. He knew the teachings said to let go of anger. But knowing and doing are two very different things. One day, after a particularly explosive outburst where he shouted at an elderly monk for moving too slowly, he went to the Zen master in desperation. "Master," he said, "I've tried everything. I meditate, I chant, I study the scriptures, but this anger keeps rising up in me like a demon I can't control. What am I doing wrong?" The master looked at him with those calm, penetrating eyes and said something unexpected. "Show me this anger. Bring it out right now so I can see it." The young monk was confused. I can't just bring it out. I'm not angry right now." The master smiled gently. "So, this anger, this demon you speak of, it's not always with you? It comes and goes?" The monk nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "Then it's not who you are," the master said. "It's something that arises and passes away, like clouds in the sky. You are the sky, not the clouds." This is the first profound teaching we need to understand about anger. It's not you. In Buddhist psychology, there's a concept called the 3 poisons that cause all human suffering: greed, hatred, and delusion. Anger falls under hatred, and it's called a poison for a very specific reason. Just like a physical poison enters your system and spreads, affecting your entire body, anger enters your mind and spreads, affecting your entire being. It clouds your judgment, weakens your body, damages your relationships, and keeps you trapped in cycles of suffering. But here's the liberating truth. A poison is something foreign to you, something that enters from outside. It's not your essential nature. When you were born, you didn't come into this world angry. Watch a baby who's just been fed and changed, lying peacefully. That's your original nature. Peaceful, content, present. Anger is something you learned, something that developed as a response to a world that didn't always meet your expectations. And here's the beautiful part. Anything that's learned can be unlearned. Anything that arises can be allowed to pass away. But let's be honest, when someone disrespects you, when someone hurts you, when life feels unfair, that anger feels completely justified, doesn't it? This is where the second teaching becomes crucial, and it comes from one of the most famous stories in Zen Buddhism. There was a samurai warrior, a man trained in combat, who had heard about a Zen master known for his wisdom. This samurai had a question that burned in his mind, so he traveled to the master's temple. When he found the master sitting peacefully in meditation, the samurai stood before him and demanded, "Tell me about heaven and hell. Explain them to me." The master slowly opened his eyes, looked at the warrior, and said dismissively, "Tell you about heaven and hell? Look at you. You're just a brute, a fool dressed in armor. You're too stupid to understand such profound concepts. I have no time to waste on someone like you." The samurai's face turned red. His hand moved to his sword. How dare this monk insult him? He was a respected warrior. He began to draw his sword, ready to strike down this insolent teacher. And in that moment, the master said calmly, "That's hell." The samurai froze. In an instant, he understood. The rage, the loss of control, the readiness to destroy, the burning sensation in his chest. This was hell. Not some place he would go after death, but a state of being he had created right here, right now. Overwhelmed by this realization, the samurai's anger dissolved. He felt a wave of gratitude and peace wash over him. He put his sword away and bowed deeply to the master. And the master said softly, "And that's heaven." This story reveals something revolutionary. Hell is not a place you go to as punishment. Hell is what you create inside yourself when you let anger control you. Think about the last time you were truly angry. In that moment, were you at peace? Were you happy? Could you think clearly? Could you enjoy anything? No. You were in your own personal hell, and you built it yourself, brick by brick, with your own thoughts and reactions. The Buddha taught in the Dhammapada, one of the most important Buddhist scriptures, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." Read that again, slowly. Not for your anger, but by your anger. The anger itself is the punishment. When you're consumed by rage, you can't enjoy the beautiful sunset. You can't appreciate the meal in front of you. You can't connect with the people you love. You're trapped in a prison of your own making, and you're both the prisoner and the jailer. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Modern science is now confirming what the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. When you experience anger, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate increases. Your blood pressure spikes. Your immune system is suppressed. If this happens occasionally, your body can handle it. But chronic anger, holding on to resentment day after day, literally damages your body. Studies have shown that people who struggle with anger have higher rates of heart disease, stroke, weakened immune systems, and even shorter lifespans. The ancient masters didn't have laboratories or medical equipment, but they understood through deep observation and meditation that anger was poison, and they were absolutely right. So, if anger is so destructive, if it's literally killing us, why do we hold on to it? This brings us to the third and perhaps most practical teaching. There's a story about a monk named Ajahn Chah, a famous Thai Buddhist master from the 20th century, who had a beautiful glass cup that he cherished. It was perfectly clear, had a lovely shape, and when he drank from it, the water tasted pure and clean. One day, a student asked him, "Master, you seem so attached to this cup. What will you do if it breaks?" Ajahn Chah picked up the cup, held it to the light, and said, "You see this cup? I love this cup. It holds water perfectly. When I tap it, it makes a beautiful sound. But to me, this cup is already broken. Because I understand that everything breaks eventually, when it does break, I will not suffer." This is the teaching of impermanence, and it's the key to cooling the fire of anger. We get angry because we expect things to be a certain way, and when reality doesn't match our expectations, we suffer. We expect people to treat us fairly. We expect our plans to work out. We expect life to be just. And when these expectations aren't met, anger arises. But what if we understood, deeply understood, that everything is constantly changing? That people will sometimes disappoint us, not because they're evil, but because they're human? That plans will sometimes fail, not because the universe is against us, but because that's the nature of life? The Buddha taught that all conditioned things are impermanent. Your anger is impermanent. The situation that made you angry is impermanent. Even the person who wronged you is impermanent, constantly changing, not the same person from one moment to the next. When you truly grasp this, something shifts inside you. You stop clinging so tightly to how things should be, and you start accepting how things are. And in that acceptance, anger loses its fuel. Here is a practical example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, and you're going to be late for an important meeting. You can feel the anger rising. You're cursing the other drivers, gripping the steering wheel. Your jaw is clenched. But what is your anger actually accomplishing? Is it making the traffic move faster? Is it changing the situation in any way? No. It's just making you miserable. Now imagine instead that you take a deep breath and think, this is the reality right now. Traffic is slow. I cannot change it. Getting angry won't help. I'll call ahead and let them know I'll be late, and I'll use this time to listen to something interesting or just breathe and be present. Same situation, completely different experience. In one scenario, you're in hell. In the other, you're free. This doesn't mean becoming passive or letting people walk all over you. The Buddha wasn't teaching us to be doormats. There's a crucial difference between anger and appropriate action. You can address injustice, set boundaries, and stand up for yourself without the poison of anger. In fact, you can do it much more effectively without anger because your mind is clear, your words are measured, and your actions are wise rather than reactive. There's a famous story about the Buddha himself that illustrates this perfectly. One day, a man came up to the Buddha and started insulting him. calling him names, questioning his teachings, trying to provoke him. The Buddha just stood there calmly, listening. When the man finally finished his tirade, the Buddha asked him, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man was confused. "Well, I suppose it still belongs to the person who offered it." The Buddha smiled. "Exactly. You have offered me insults and anger, but I do not accept them, so they remain with you." This is such a powerful teaching. You don't have to accept every provocation. You don't have to pick up every burden someone tries to hand you. When someone is rude to you, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when someone says something hurtful, they're offering you their anger, their stress, their suffering. But you have a choice. You can accept that gift, take it into yourself, and let it poison you. Or you can simply let it be, recognizing that their behavior is about them, not about you. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great in theory, but in the moment, when I'm angry, I can't think clearly enough to remember any of this. You're absolutely right. That's why the ancient masters developed practical techniques, methods you can use right now, today, the next time anger arises. These aren't just philosophical ideas. They're tools that have been tested and refined over thousands of years. The first technique is so simple, it almost seems too easy, but it's incredibly powerful. When you feel anger rising, stop and take 3 deep breaths. That's it. Just 3 conscious breaths. Breathe in slowly through your nose, hold for a moment, and breathe out slowly through your mouth. Why does this work? Because anger is a physiological response, and breath is the bridge between your body and your mind. When you're angry, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. By consciously slowing your breath, you're sending a signal to your nervous system that you're safe, that you don't need to be in fight or flight mode. This was taught in ancient meditation practices, and modern neuroscience has confirmed that controlled breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms you down. The second technique comes from a practice called noting in Buddhist meditation. When anger arises, instead of identifying with it and thinking, "I am angry," simply note it. Anger is here. This might seem like a small change in language, but it's profound. I am angry means anger is you. It's your identity. Anger is here means anger is a temporary visitor, a feeling passing through. You're creating space between you and the emotion. You're remembering that you are the sky, not the clouds. Try it next time. When you feel that heat rising, just quietly say to yourself, "Anger is here. Interesting. I notice anger has arrived." This simple act of observation creates a gap, and in that gap, you have freedom to choose how to respond. The third technique is what we call the compassion flip, and it's based on a teaching from Tibetan Buddhism. When someone makes you angry, try this. Imagine what might be happening in their life. Maybe that person who was rude to you just lost their job. Maybe the driver who cut you off is rushing to the hospital. Maybe the family member who said something hurtful is dealing with pain you know nothing about. The Buddha taught, if you truly loved yourself, you would never harm another. Everyone who acts out of anger or cruelty is suffering. Hurt people hurt people. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but understanding this can transform your anger into compassion. And compassion is the antidote to anger, the water that puts out the fire. There's a beautiful story about a Zen master named Ryokan who lived a simple life in a small hut. One night, a thief broke into his hut, but there was nothing to steal. Ryokan felt sorry for the thief, so he gave him his clothes and blanket. After the thief left, Ryokan sat naked in his hut, looking at the moon, and wrote a poem. The thief left it behind, the moon at my window. Even in a situation where most people would feel violated and angry, Ryokan chose to see the beauty that remained. He understood that his peace was more valuable than any possession, and he wasn't going to let a thief steal that. This is the ultimate freedom, when you realize that no one can make you angry without your permission. Eleanor Roosevelt, though not a Buddhist, captured this wisdom perfectly when she said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." The same is true for anger. People can do things you don't like. Situations can be difficult. Life can be unfair. But the anger you feel is your response, your choice, your creation. And if you created it, you can also choose not to create it. Let's bring this all together now. Anger destroys you first because it's a poison that burns through your peace, your health, your relationships, and your happiness long before it ever affects anyone else. The three teachings we've explored give you a path forward. First, understand that anger is not who you are. It's a temporary state, a cloud passing through the sky of your consciousness. You are not the anger. You are the awareness that observes the anger. Second, recognize that when you're consumed by anger, you're creating your own hell right here, right now. You don't need to wait for some afterlife to experience suffering. You're experiencing it in this moment. And third, embrace impermanence and let go of rigid expectations. Life will not always go according to your plan. And people will not always behave the way you think they should. But you can choose acceptance over resistance, compassion over judgment, peace over anger. The Dhammapada tells us, hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is a law eternal. Think about the implications of this. Every time you respond to anger with anger, you're just adding fuel to the fire. You're perpetuating a cycle that has been going on for generations, maybe even centuries. But you have the power to stop it, right here, right now, with your next choice. When someone is angry at you, you can choose not to be angry back. When life disappoints you, you can choose not to rage against reality. When you're hurt, you can choose to heal rather than to hurt others in return. This isn't weakness. This is the strongest thing you can do. It takes no strength to lose your temper. A child can do that. It takes tremendous strength, wisdom, and courage to remain calm in the face of provocation, to choose peace when anger would be easier, to respond with compassion when you've been hurt. This is the path of the warrior, not the warrior who fights external enemies, but the warrior who conquers the enemies within: anger, hatred, resentment, and fear. As we come to the end of our time together, remember that this isn't about perfection. You're not going to master this overnight. Even monks who have practiced for decades still experience anger sometimes. The difference is, they've trained themselves to recognize it quickly, not to identify with it, and to let it pass without acting on it. You're training your mind, and like any training, it takes time and practice. Be patient with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Every time you choose to take a breath instead of lashing out, every time you note your anger instead of becoming it, every time you choose understanding over judgment, you're rewiring your brain. You're becoming freer. Before you go, do you want to take a challenge? For the next 7 days, commit to this practice. Every time you feel anger rising, no matter how small, pause and take 3 conscious breaths. Don't try to suppress the anger. Don't judge yourself for feeling it. Just breathe and observe. Notice what happens. Notice how often the anger dissipates on its own when you give it space. Notice how much more clearly you can think and respond when you're not immediately reactive. After 7 days, come back and leave a comment sharing what you discovered. I read every comment, and I'd love to hear about your experience. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more people discover these teachings. And in a world where anger seems to be everywhere, where people are divided and reactive, we need this wisdom more than ever. Share this video with someone you think could benefit from it. Maybe it's someone you know who struggles with anger, or maybe it's someone who's been on the receiving end of someone else's anger and needs to understand it's not about them. And remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos where we explore more Buddhist wisdom and practical teachings for living with less suffering and more peace. We're building a community here of people who are committed to inner growth, to becoming more conscious, more compassionate, and more free. The Buddha's final words before he died were, "All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence." Your anger is a conditioned thing. It arose and it will pass away. But your essential nature, your Buddha nature, that peaceful awareness that exists beneath all the thoughts and emotions, that is eternal, that is who you truly are. The fire of anger can burn hot, but it cannot touch that deep peace within you unless you let it. So the next time anger arises, remember, you are not the fire. You are the space in which the fire appears. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds the storm. And just as the sky is never damaged by the weather that passes through it, your true self is never damaged by the emotions that pass through your awareness. Let them come, let them be, and let them go. This is the path to freedom. This is how you cool the fire inside. Thank you for being here, and see you in the next video.